Just a minute.
All right. We have officially blessed the
Would you
food.
like orange juice, milk, almond milk, grape juice, or apple juice? Grape juice?
I think you're giving out books to like a book
Yeah,
to
about $200 and some worth of this. I just don't give them away. I
That
say
is so nice.
kids are broke. They don't have any money.
Yeah. That's so nice. These are really good books too.
Thank you.
Very good choice.
Yeah, we just.
A lot of y'all are programmed like Robert's rules. I say that when I speak facts, he earns a stamp. I'll leave it at that. All right, so before I start this little bit of a discussion, somebody raise their hand. When you think about the Black Panthers, what's the first thing that you think about? Somebody raise their hand. Here you go, sister.
I think about a group that gave a voice to people who were voiceless.
I like that. Somebody else. Here we go. We're gonna make this interactive, dog.
I think Unity.
I love that, right? You know, community means common unity, right? All right, one more person. I'll do a CDO.
They got a 10-point platform.
I love it. Voice for the people, unity, 10-point platform. Now, one thing that I think, and I love all of that because that's in line with us, right? And what we gotta do. Now, one thing I think our people get caught up in is nostalgia, right? We look at the Panthers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and we put them all the way up in the sky. We make them gods. And it makes it unrelatable, right? It makes it unrelatable because these were real people. Now, I'm part of an organization called the New Community Leadership Foundation, right? So a lot of times when I'm working on projects, I have to do research. And when you're researching, you start finding out other things you didn't know about, right? You start reading about these people's stories and plans that they had, right? So just because the Panthers was doing stuff in the past doesn't mean that they finished their work. Actually, if you look at the story, COINTELPRO came and the Panthers didn't finish their work. Right? So we have nostalgia that makes people gods. It makes it unrelatable to you, and then you don't continue on the work. Now, looking at what's happening today, right? You got Black Lives Matter, police brutality, these things been happening, right? So one of the things that comes to mind to me and the Panthers is one of the biggest weapons. One of the biggest weapons was not the gun. That's nostalgia. And that's somebody that's probably gonna get you killed. Let's march up to the White House with guns, brother. No, we need a more strategic plan in that. One of the most powerful weapons was knowledge of the law. They knew how to interface with the police and back them up. So it wasn't just a gun. I got the knowledge that validates me carrying this gun. Right? So when I apply that today, our people need to know how to interface with the police. Talk and talk. And then you know what? You a cop. I take it up with the judge and with your superiors. Right? So we talk about voice for the people. People need that voice. And it's a trick. I've seen situations where the police are engaging with our people. They're yelling, the people are yelling, nobody's in control. That's not how the Panthers handle stuff. Right? You know, so this is why we have to do our research, start studying our ancestors so we can pick up the pieces. And one of the things that enabled the Panthers, and this is relatable to the people, to teenagers, to youth, one of the things that enabled them was education. A lot of them were college students. And they went to school, educated themselves about the law, and they were committed to a common goal. So that's the reason for them to go to school and not to be a fool and to pick up some tools. Right? So it's intriguing. One of the things that I've experienced today, and see, I got some of y'all attention, but I won't be too long. But one of the things I experienced today, especially community organizing in the Black community, is our people don't communicate. We don't engage, right? And then we say, oh, we need the Black Panthers back. That's that nostalgia. Because you gotta be the Black Panthers today. They were just regular people. It was just regular people. And then it's a trick. When you start walking the walk, talking the talk, you might get make history. I made a little history. I'm all around some parts of the city. Just from, being courageous, taking the courage to take a step forward and do something for the community. Right? So, one of the things that the Panthers was good at doing was engaging our community. Like going to the streets, block by block, like a Jehovah's Witness. Right? You gotta go into the projects and talk to the people. Bring it to the people. How else are they gonna know? And one of the things that I hate when people say, right? I hate when people say, what is Kamala Harris gonna do for me? What is Joe Biden gonna do for me? Brother, we sound like we're ready to go back to the plantation. I mean, what are they gonna do for your community? How is Joe Biden gonna have a plan for Baby Young's Point? If the people at Baby Young's Point don't have that plan. So, one of the ideas with the New Community Leadership Foundation that we practice, right? It's these 4 angles of community engagement. You gotta be engaged with your local people. That's your community, right? That's that common unity that somebody talked about. That common unity, right? So that means you gotta take your 5 friends, or your 10 friends, or your 20 friends and associates, come together and make plans with each other. Like actually do your own assessment of your own neighborhood and what it needs. What's needed on 3rd Street? What does 3rd Street need? When it comes to the schools, what is our educational agenda? What do Black people want taught in the schools? We have to go to the school, the Unified School District and engage them. But if we don't get interested, talk about what are they going to do, they're going to set the agenda. Right? So we have to be engaged with our local people. The other part is local organizations. Like this place. This is a local organization. How many organizations is in your community? That's your community money going to those different organizations. Do you even know? How can you complain about what the organizations are doing or not doing if you don't know who they are? And that's, again, other people setting the tone for your community. The other part is local businesses. You wonder why you don't have liquor stores in other people's community. Because the neighbors get together and vote them out. You know, there's something called community benefit. This is real. Look it up. Google it. Any business or organization that operates in your community is supposed to have a benefit for your community. Not just taking money out. Or they a part of your community. If not, man, let's get with the neighbors and vote them out. We don't do that. Right? Yeah, so that's that local business. But it's also corporations. Most cities with black people have a major sports franchise. And we have the internet. Did you check to see what the Warriors are doing in the black community? I mean, 8% of the NBA's population is black, right? They put Black Lives Matter on the floor, right? You got Chase Corporation. But don't let these people make you feel like they're undeserving for their philanthropy. Get to the black community. We giving our people to y'all, and y'all operate here. That's that community benefit. You got Chase, which is all the way at the end of 3rd Street. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. In the future, there's not going to be room for a lot of this stuff that's out here. So you got to get a part of the plans. If a big corporation like Chase is right down the street, but at the same time, we need to engage them. I mean, Belleville and Walden came out here. Did somebody black bring them out here? It might have been. It seemed like it. Let's do it now. You know, we should be engaging with Chase to say, man, look. And you know what? That's redevelopment money that Chase was, built on. A lot of people don't know that. Right? So we should be engaging with Chase to do more in our community. Use the facility. Let us use the facility of Black Lives Matter for some positivity, for some gospel, or whatever, reggae kind of something. Last one is local politicians. Right? You have to know who your local politicians are and engage with them, and you got to stop looking at them like they're a slave master. What are they going to do for me? It's not a dictatorship. They work for us. But you got to know your community agenda. So it's like when you want to start doing things in your community, then you can go to your local councilman in San Francisco supervisor or your mayor. With that, I'm going to come to a close. I'm going to have 1 minute. And thank y'all for listening to me. Thank y'all for coming out, supporting Catherine. I also want to say that the Black Panther movement was a people's movement. If you saw the Judas Factor, right? They wanted y'all to see about, them getting infiltrated and all of that to demoralize you. But look at Fred Hampton's strategies. Look at the different people that he brought together in network. He the one that came up with the rainbow for the LGBTQ. It was Fred Hampton. And you saw it in the Judas Factor. Right? So those are the things that we got to do to engage with each other. Because we have similarities and commonalities with the Asian community, with the Latino community, with some people in the white community, with the LGBTQ community. We all want access. And we all want our rights to be respected. So with that, thank you for having me, and thank you for coming out. Peace. All power to the people.
Power.
She wanted to say something like that. I can't. All that information.
Star's gonna say a few words to Shasta, and then we're gonna have the CBO to come up, and he's a rapper, and he's a positive, conscious rapper. We have a couple of them that we want to, for you all to hear. And before they come up, I've got someone here that wants to speak to you about sickle cell anemia. She flew out here, so I don't want to delay her time.
All right.
Okay.
Right on.
Hello, everybody. Hi. I'm starting from power number 65. I was not going to speak, to be honest, but I don't want to take anybody's time. Catherine would like to have me express the things that we've been doing. We just did a piece with the Panthers. We got the chance to sit down with Catherine, Brother Steve, and Brother Ned, and we also did a piece with them for our publication. So we wrote about him, and 4 hours when this was published, we got put on notice that it was recognized as a historical document. Not only that, it is going to be going into the Oakland Historical Center and inside the museum. We have 3 plaques that are going to be awarded, and we're going to be going to the viewing, one of the viewings tonight. I'm going to be on the wall next to Mike Tyson. And I never thought nothing like that would happen to me, or even that I would be recognized to the point where I would be inside the museum. And I thought, we look at Rosa Parks and we look at Rosa Parks and Martin, and we can just say, that's a historical figure, and to us, we can't say like, oh, that's my uncle or my cousin or something like that. But I've given not only the Panthers a chance for their legacy to continue on, and all that, the historical things that they've done, and the knowledge and the educating that they've done. Now my family gets to come by and say, hey, that's my cousin, that's my sister, that's my somebody, my niece. And I'm just so grateful for them. Words cannot express. My father is a huge, huge fan. You would think that he was related to all of the Panthers, the way he talks about them. So I was always educated on them. And I just expressed that I'm kind of upset that the museum has changed, because they used to be on the walls, and they used to have these huge display cases, and I would always come by and see them. And when my son was old enough, I took him to go and see them. So he's 3, 4 years old, looking at the same stuff my father would walk and take me to look at. Now that's gone. And I said, how can we get this back? They said, people like you got to come in here and make noise and complain. I said, I think that's what's about to happen. So we want to keep that history alive. The things that the Panthers have done, they're the blueprint to all of us that decide to get up and say, we're going to do something for our community today. They are the blueprint for that, especially in those of us of color. And I want to honor them and thank them, and I love you guys dearly. And I want you guys to give them a good clap. Go ahead, clap for them.
I'm going to introduce you to a woman that sometimes we don't look like we have as much power as we do. We might look like ordinary people walking down the street or on the bus, or, somebody you might run into, in the store. But you never know what that person is like until you talk to them. And I encourage people that when you see people that you don't know and you just see them from the outside, when you say something to that person, or you start the conversation, or say something like, I like that outfit you got on, I like those shoes, I like that hat. I'm like, that's showing love one to another. Even if it's that small, that person feels like somebody cares, they feel like they've been noticed, and then the day isn't as stressful as it could have been. So, there's people out there that are looking out for us, and we don't even know that. So I'm going to introduce you to a woman who is working with the sickle cell anemia project. Her name is Pat Cooley, right? Corey. Oh, I said it right the first time. Okay.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a blessing and a pleasure for me to be here to share with you my voyage. And I'm going to ask Christina to join me as I share my voyage. Christina is a young lady who has sickle cell anemia, who has lived a life with sickle cell anemia. And I met Christina probably about 5 years ago. Recently, we were reintroduced because she had a traumatic experience in the hospital setting, which is often what happens with sickle cell disease. And it happens primarily because what do most people who are portrayed in the media as folks who have a drug problem look like? They look like us. And so every time Christina hits the hospital doors, she experiences the trauma of being suspected of wanting drugs just because she likes to get high. And so what we've been doing a lot of is advocacy, and the other young lady who was sitting next to me works for owns Access Advocacy, which is a nonprofit. And then I am working very hard with another nonprofit in the Los Angeles area, Cayenne Wellness Center. And we focus on doing advocacy and providing services to people with sickle cell disease. We also do a lot of work on fighting for people with sickle cell disease because it's so important. And I really want to invite you guys to engage with us. We have a partnership that we're starting with the Black Panther Party. And what we're trying to do is because they initially are the ones that brought sickle cell disease into awareness. They actually went to our President Nixon years ago and insisted that they do something about sickle cell disease because sickle cell disease is the most frequently occurring red blood cell disorder in the United States and all over the world. There's a large presence. And so we are now partnering with people from all over Australia, all different places all over the world, France, Italy, Africa, just to make an awareness of sickle cell disease more prevalent, and also to ensure that people with sickle cell disease get taken good care of. You know, years ago people thought that people with sickle cell disease were dead before they were teenagers. We now have patients well into their 60s, 70s, some into their 80s, who are living and thriving with sickle cell disease, but it can only be done if they have the support they need and the care that they deserve and are worthy of in order to have the best possible life with sickle cell disease. So I'm going to ask Christina to say a few words. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time. I think I have about 20 minutes. And so, Christina, you want to share with them?
Hello everybody, like she said, my name is Christina. And I was born with sickle cell, but they did not diagnose me until I was 2. And my parents didn't know anything about it until I was diagnosed with it, so they said until I was they would educate themselves. So they told, the doctor initially told my parents that I wasn't supposed to live to be 25, and now I'm 40. Now I'm 40, thank you for that. But it's been a struggle. It has been, and that has been able to help me with the struggle. Adrian. But my biggest problem is the transition, because when we're children, they see us as kids that have sickle cell. But once we become adults, then that's when they see us as drug users and just wanting to go into the hospital for drugs and not. They don't think that we're in as much pain as we're in, so it causes a lot of frustration and heartache. But
You're doing just fine.
My family, it's hard on my family. My mom, when I'm in the hospital, she comes to see me, but it's like, I don't know how to explain it. She's distant, and I know that she doesn't like to see me in that predicament when I'm sick. So, and also it affects my children also, because when they see me in that, it's not, they can't process it. It's hard for them to process seeing mama in that state.
last pass was with someone that I worked with who had sickle cell anemia. He was in a public housing project where I worked, and he got sick.
People in Australia, there are people with sickle cell disease all over. Because we're a very tight community that marry each other. So if you got sickle cell disease and your man, your children can have sickle cell anemia. So we're a pretty tight community. All of us know that we have collectively, over the last, I guess, 30, 40 years, we married we married very often. Because that's what our community is all about, keeping a tight community. We don't do that anymore. And so now you see people with sickle cell disease who look different. Yes.
I also want to say too is that people don't know that black people are many different races.
Absolutely.
You know, in one, you know, so like Africa has 54 different countries. So the reason for arranged marriages was for these reasons.
Yes.
Diseases and stuff that might be in their family that we don't want in our family.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't common in Africa for somebody to marry somebody of a different country or different tribe.
Yes. So it kept the blood pure.
You said the blood pure.
So we know that in Greece and places like that, where there's a lot of sickle cell disease, people are pre-tested and they are not allowed to marry each other. But in the United States, we often don't find out about sickle cell trait until after we have that baby.
After we went to the club,
Yeah. So then we do newborn screening at the time of birth, and it comes up that we have a child with sickle cell anemia. Most parents, when they're pregnant, they don't know. Now, if you have a family history of having sickle cell in your family, you can get an amniocentesis, which is taking some fluid from the sac around the baby, and you can diagnose sickle cell disease before birth. But prior to new science, we weren't able to do that. And so we had a lot of families that had babies and then found out that they had a baby with sickle cell disease. And so we are now encouraging, what we're trying to do now is to move forward. And at the time of birth, when parents are given that information, if their child has sickle cell trait or their child has sickle cell anemia, they get the information then. But we also want to get it into the school system so that it's revisited over and over and over again, so that child also knows they have a sickle cell gene. So that when you start dating and stuff, you know to ask that question. Because once you're in love, you don't ask those kind of questions. Okay? And so it's a purposeful movement to ensure that we inform people so that they can choose to marry that person if they want to, but it's a good informed decision. It's your decision. You're not just falling into something. So that we're doing things much differently than we used to be. And we're trying to get money to be able to do those kind of things. So I'm gonna ask my beautiful
Holiday, where is he? Is he in here? Oh, okay. So he's going to come up, he's going to bless us with that and this brother right here. You know, and then we're going to close out after that. All right, so open it up. Come to the people. All right, come to the people. Freeze up. Come to the people. All right, now. So now let's go ahead. I'm Shay. All right. So Ezekiel Holiday is going to come up, and he's going to give us some conscious words of rap to put up on our heart.
Lord reign, every black man unite, cause we share the same grace. Power to the people means the power is ours. Just start a revolution in your own backyard, cause all men created equal. P2TP. 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 When I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip. Hip. When I say don't, y'all say stop. Don't. All power to the people, so act like you know, man. It's the platform, it's the 10-point program, the freedom, employment, the robbery, the housing, the education, healthcare, police brutality. Plus, we want to end all wars of aggression. We want a fair trial by junior peers. We want land, bread, housing, clothing, education, justice, and peace, and people's control of modern technology. P2TP. P2TP. Yeah, study your lessons and act like you know, man. It's the platform, yeah, it's the 10-point program. What's the call for you more? What's the call for you more? P2TP. P2TP. Rest in peace, Melvin Dixon, the free breakfast program. Gotta feed the children up early in the morning, got me reminiscing. Used to cook soul food up in the kitchen. Used to wash some dirty dishes in the kitchen sink. He taught me how to think and I just want to think. Cause when I was a little child, I was running wild. He was the one who taught me how to be so black and proud. He showed me George Jackson the day of the gun. Felt like he was my Baba and I'm his only son. UEP knew the 10-point program. He was the one who taught me how to be a grown man. He let me organize in the black community. He taught me about solidarity and unity. He let me hold meetings inside the Black Panther office. CC, BPP is what he used to call it. Harry and tell me there was a partridge on the wall. All the Black Panther books, yeah, we read them all. All the political prisoners, we freed them all. From Chick Fitzgerald to Rebel Jamal. Panther power, rest in peace, Melvin Dixon. Sometimes he used to talk to me, yo, we just sit and listen. We was right there on Adeline and Alcatraz. I felt so happy when he first got me his comrade. We used to go to the flea market and set up tables. That was until the day that he was no longer able. And he would send me off to go and do it by myself. He said, only call me if you need some help. He used to put so many thoughts inside my little brain. Political strategies, tactics, and campaigns. He used to say, you know what to do, don't you? Can you handle that? Serve the people and always put